The morning sky over Seoul turned dark as massive shadows blocked out the sun. Admiral Kyung-Soo Park stood on the observation deck of the military command center, watching ships the size of cities drift silently through Earth's atmosphere. He had seen many things in his 30 years of service, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. "Sir, we're getting signals from all major cities," reported Communications Officer Han Sol Kim, his voice shaking slightly. "London, New York, Tokyo, Moscow, and they're all the same. The ships are everywhere." Kyung-Soo nodded grimly and walked back into the command center. The room buzzed with activity as officers tried to make sense of what was happening. President Hee-Jin Lee arrived minutes later, her face pale but determined. She had been in emergency meeting since the first ships appeared 3 hours ago. "What do we know?" she asked, taking her place at the central command table. 18 ships over major population centers, reported Intelligence Director Chang Ho Lim. "Each one is roughly 15 kilometers long. Our satellites show they're using some kind of energy shielding. We can't get detailed scans." Captain Min-ho Kim, the country's top fighter pilot, studied the display screens showing the alien vessels. "Have they made any hostile moves?" "None," replied Kyung-Soo. "They're just waiting." Dr. So-Young Choi, head of the government's xenobiology research team, entered the room carrying a tablet. She had been called in the moment the ships appeared. "The positioning is deliberate," she said, showing them her analysis. "They're positioned over our largest cities, military bases, and communication centers. This isn't random." President Lee looked at the main screen, which showed a real-time feed of the massive ship hovering over Seoul. People in the streets below had stopped their daily routines and were staring up at the alien vessel. Some were taking pictures, others were running, but most just stood frozen in disbelief. "Ma'am," Communications Officer Kim called out urgently, "we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from all the ships simultaneously." "Put it on screen," ordered the president. The main display changed to show a figure that was clearly not human. The alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, with thick, muscular arms and legs covered in what looked like natural armor plating. Its skin was a deep blue-gray color, and its eyes were large and completely black. When it spoke, the words came through in perfect Korean, English, Chinese, and dozens of other languages simultaneously. "I am War Chief Thekvar of the Velkari Empire," the alien announced, its voice deep and commanding. "We speak to all inhabitants of the planet you call Earth. You have been chosen for incorporation into our empire." General Tai-Hyun Yoon, who had just arrived from the Korean Defense Corps headquarters, stood beside the president. His weathered face showed no emotion as he listened to the alien's words. "For 800 years we have brought order to this galaxy," Tekvar continued. "We have unified more than 600 worlds under our rule. Your species shows potential, and we offer you the same choice we have offered others. Submit peacefully and become part of something greater than yourselves." The alien paused and the camera angle changed to show images of other worlds. Beautiful cities made of crystal and metal, floating platforms above vast oceans, and towering spires that reached into space. But then the images changed. The same cities now broken and burning. The floating platforms crashed into the seas, the spires reduced to rubble. "These worlds chose resistance," Tekvar explained calmly. "Their civilizations were far more advanced than yours. They had weapons that could destroy stars and shields that could protect entire continents. Yet they fell in days because they did not understand a simple truth. Resistance to the Velkari Empire is meaningless." Dr. Choi took notes rapidly, analyzing everything she could see about the alien and the footage he was showing. The technology displayed was centuries beyond anything Earth possessed. "You have 72 hours to consider our offer," the war chief continued. "Surrender your military forces, dismantle your governments, and accept Velkari rule. In return, your people will be allowed to live and serve the empire. Your strongest will join our military. Your smartest will work in our research facilities. Your world will know peace under our protection." The transmission showed more images of conquered worlds, now apparently peaceful under alien rule. Humans working alongside other alien species. building massive structures tending to alien agriculture, serving in what looked like auxiliary military units. If you choose resistance, Tekvar's voice grew colder, you will join the others who made that mistake. We will demonstrate our power by destroying your moon, then your cities, then your people, until you understand that surrender was always your only choice. This is not a negotiation. This is a courtesy we extend to all. New species, you have 72 hours. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in complete silence. President Lee was the first to speak. Options? Admiral Kyung-soo pulled up tactical displays. Our most optimistic projections show we could maybe damage one of their ships before they destroy our entire fleet. Maybe. Nuclear weapons? Asked General Yoon. Unknown, replied Dr. Choi. We don't know if their shields can stop them. Even if they can't, we'd be destroying our own cities to damage theirs. Captain Kim studied the ship positions on the tactical display. They're positioned perfectly to retaliate against any attack. If we strike one, they can level our major cities in minutes. Communications Officer Han Sol raised his hand nervously. Sir, we're getting calls from world leaders. The UN Security Council wants an emergency session. Most are asking about surrender. Terms. President Lee rubbed her temples. The weight of the decision felt crushing. Around the world, other leaders were having similar conversations. The alien demonstration had been clear. Resist and die. Surrender and live as servants. What do we know about their military capabilities? She asked. General Yoon consulted his tablet. Based on what they showed us, they have weapons that can crack planets. Their ships appear to have some kind of energy shielding that our weapons can't penetrate. Each ship probably carries thousands of troops. And their weakness? Asked the President. The room fell silent again. Finally, Dr. Choi spoke up. They're overconfident. Tekvar spoke like this was routine, like our response didn't matter because the outcome was predetermined. Captain Kim nodded. In my experience, overconfident. Enemies make mistakes. What kind of mistakes can we exploit against technology this advanced? Asked Admiral Kyung-soo skeptically. General Yoon stood up straighter. Ma'am, I've spent my career studying military history. The most advanced armies in history have fallen to enemies they underestimated. The Romans fell to barbarians. The British lost to colonial militias. Advanced technology means nothing if you don't understand your enemy. President Lee looked around the room at the faces of her advisors. These were good people, smart people, experienced people, and they were all essentially telling her that resistance meant certain death. Get me the other world leaders, she ordered. I want to know what they're thinking. Over the next hour, they held video conferences with leaders from every major Taesun. The conversations were remarkably similar. The President of the United States spoke of pragmatic choices in impossible circumstances. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom discussed preserving human civilization through survival. The Premier of China talked about accepting temporary setbacks to ensure long-term continuity. Everyone was preparing to surrender. Mama, Communications Officer Kim, interrupted one of the calls. Colonel Ji-Woo Han from Luna Base is requesting to speak with you. President Lee accepted the call. Colonel Han appeared on screen, her face determined despite the fear in her eyes. Behind her, the command center of Luna Base showed frantic activity. Ma'am, we've been monitoring the alien fleet. They have ships positioned near all our outer system installations. If this goes bad, we're the first line of defense. Colonel, what's your assessment of our chances? Honestly, against their technology, we don't have chances. We have principles. Han paused. Ma'am, my grandfather fought against overwhelming odds before. He told me that sometimes the fight itself matters more than winning. Admiral Kyung-soo leaned forward. Colonel, if we resist, they'll destroy Luna Base first. Your people will die. With respect, sir, my people signed up to defend humanity. That's what we're going to do. After the call ended, President Lee sat quietly for several minutes. Around her, the command center continued its work, but she could feel the weight of everyone's expectations. General Yoon approached her chair. Ma'am, the other leaders have made their decision. The UN will announce surrender in 6 hours. And our decision? The general looked at Admiral Kyung-soo, then at Captain Kim, then at Dr. Choi. That's up to you, ma'am. But I'll tell you what I told my officers. I've never surrendered to anyone in my life. I'm too old to start now. Captain Kim stepped forward. Ma'am, my squadron is ready for whatever you decide. We know the odds. Dr. Choi closed her tablet. The data suggests surrender is the logical choice, but humans aren't always logical. Admiral Kyung-soo straightened his uniform. The fleet is prepared, ma'am. Win or lose, we'll follow your orders. President Lee stood up and walked back to the observation deck. The alien ship still hung in the sky over Seoul, a dark reminder of humanity. War Chief Tekvar stood in the command center of his flagship, staring at the tactical display in genuine confusion. In 800 years of conquest, only 3 species had ever refused the Velkari ultimatum. All 3 had been extinct within days. Repeat the human response, he ordered his communication officer. They said, come and take it if you can, War Chief, replied Sub-Commander Koltek, his voice betraying his own bewilderment. Tekvar studied the data streams showing Earth's military capabilities. Their ships were primitive, barely capable of interplanetary flight. Their weapons used chemical explosives and basic energy projection. They had no shields, no faster-than-light communication, and their largest vessels were smaller than Velkari supply ships. Perhaps they misunderstood our message, suggested Fleet Commander Zerdak. These humans appear to be a young species. They may not comprehend the futility of resistance. Then we will teach them, Tekvar decided. We will demonstrate our power with a gentle assault. Once they see their defenders fall, they will reconsider. He turned to his tactical officer. Select their lunar installation. It appears to be their most advanced military facility. We will take it quickly and broadcast the battle to their homeworld. When they see their best soldiers fall in ours, their leaders will remember wisdom. On Luna Base, Colonel Jiwoo Han watched the alien ships approaching through the observation dome. 3 massive vessels, each one larger than the entire base, moved slowly toward the moon's surface. She had spent the last day preparing her troops for this moment, knowing it would probably be their last battle. All units, report status, she said into her communicator. Engineering ready, reported Dongmin Lee from the lower levels. We've rigged every spare mining charge we could find. If they breach the main corridors, we can bring down whole sections on top of them. Dr. Yoon-ji Park checked in from the medical bay. Medical is ready. I've also converted some of our surgical equipment into improvised weapons. The laser scalpels aren't much, but they might penetrate their armor at close range. Sergeant Yu Jin, Song's voice came from the outer defenses. Perimeter teams are in position. We've got every weapon on the base aimed at their landing zones. Colonel Han looked at her tactical display. Luna Base had been built for mining operations and research, not warfare. Its defenses consisted of a few missile batteries and some energy weapons designed to destroy asteroids. Against the approaching alien fleet, they were laughably inadequate. Remember, she told her troops over the general communication channel, we're not trying to win. We're trying to show them what happens when you attack humans, make every meter cost them, make every room a battle. Show them that taking our home won't be easy. The first Velkari ship landed a kilometer from the base's main entrance. Han watched through cameras as a boarding ramp descended and alien soldiers emerged. They moved with confidence, their weapons ready but not urgent. To them, this was routine. They're bigger than we thought, observed Commander Ji-ho Kang from the communication center. Those armor suits look like they could stop anything we HFY, then we get creative, Han replied. All units execute Plan Chaos. Plan Chaos was Han's answer to overwhelming enemy superiority. Instead of fighting like a traditional military unit, her people would fight like guerrillas, using every advantage their knowledge of the base could provide. The Velkari assault began with a bombardment of the outer defenses. Their energy weapons cut through the missile batteries like paper. Within minutes, Luna Base's conventional defenses were destroyed. The aliens began advancing toward the main entrance, expecting token resistance before the humans surrendered. Instead, they walked into Engineer Lee's first surprise. As the lead Velkari squad approached the main airlock, he triggered a sequence of mining charges that had been placed in the lunar regolith around the entrance. The explosion didn't harm the aliens through their armor, but it created a massive dust cloud that interfered with their sensors. "Now!" shouted Sergeant Song, and her teams opened fire from concealed positions throughout the crater. The Velkari had not expected coordinated resistance from multiple angles. Their tactical computers had calculated that human weapons would be ineffective against their armor, and they were right. The bullets and energy beams barely scratched their suits, but the humans weren't trying to kill them with direct fire. Song's teams had spent hours setting up crossfires that would drive the aliens toward specific areas. As the Velkari sought cover from the ineffective but annoying human fire, they moved exactly where the defenders wanted them. "Triggered," reported Lee, and another series of mining charges exploded. This time, the explosions were directly beneath the alien troops. The shaped charges designed to crack lunar rock couldn't penetrate Velkari armor either, but they could knock the heavy aliens off their feet and disorient them. Sub-Commander Koltek, leading the ground assault, found himself confused by human tactics. His troops were taking no casualties, but they were also making no progress. Every time they advanced, another trap triggered. Every position they took was abandoned before they arrived, only to come under fire from a new direction. "These humans fight strangely," he reported to the war chief. "They seem to know their weapons cannot harm us, yet they continue attacking." "Crush them quickly," Tekvar replied irritably. "We do not have time for games." But crushing the humans proved more difficult than expected. When the Velkari finally breached the main airlock, they found the corridors eerily empty. "Commander." Kang had activated the base's emergency protocols, sealing most areas and forcing the aliens to advance through specific routes. The first squad to enter the main corridor walked into Dr. Park's trap. The medical officer had connected the base's emergency defibrillation equipment to the metal floor panels. When the aliens stepped on the charged sections, the electrical shock didn't penetrate their armor, but it did disrupt their suit electronics, temporarily. In those few seconds of confusion, Sergeant Song's reserve team attacked from concealed positions in the walls. They didn't try to shoot through Velkari armor. Instead, they used welding torches and industrial cutting tools to attack joints and sensor arrays. They aimed for helmet vision slits and suit environmental systems. "They're trying to blind and disorient us," reported one Velkari soldier as his helmet's display flickered from damaged sensors. The humans disappeared again before the aliens could retaliate effectively, melting back into maintenance shafts and emergency passages that were too small for the heavily armored Velkari to follow. For the first time in his career, Sub-Commander Kolthek found himself fighting an enemy that refused to engage in conventional combat. The humans seemed to understand they couldn't win through superior firepower, so they were using every other advantage they could find. In the lower levels, Engineer Lee had turned the base's mining equipment into weapons. When a Velkari squad entered the excavation chamber, he used the massive drilling laser to attack them. The weapon was designed to cut through solid rock, and while it couldn't penetrate their armor directly, it could heat the metal until the environmental systems failed. 2 aliens were forced to retreat when their suit cooling systems overloaded. It was the first time in the battle that Velkari soldiers had been forced to withdraw. "Impossible," muttered Kolthek. "Their weapons are primitive. How are they achieving tactical victories?" The answer came from Dr. Park, who had been studying the alien armor through the medical scanners. "Their suits are designed to protect against energy weapons and projectiles," she reported to Colonel Han. "But they're not designed for sustained environmental stress. If we can overheat them, poison their air recycling, or damage their mobility systems, we can force them to retreat." Han smiled grimly. "Then that's what we do. All teams, new target priorities. Ignore their armor. Attack their systems." The battle shifted as the humans adapted their tactics in real time. Instead of trying to kill Velkari soldiers, they focused on disabling them. Welding torches attacked joint servos. Chemical sprays from the biology labs fouled their helmet sensors. Even the base's cleaning robots were reprogrammed to attack alien equipment. Most disturbing to the Velkari was how the humans coordinated. They maintained constant communication, sharing information about alien weaknesses and successful tactics. Every small victory was immediately reported to other teams, who adapted their methods accordingly. "They learn as they fight," reported one Velkari squad leader, his voice showing the first hints of uncertainty. Commander Kang had turned the base's communication array into both a weapon and a coordination tool. He discovered that certain frequencies could interfere with Velkari neural implants, causing disorientation and headaches. While he broadcast these disruption signals, he also maintained flawless communication between human units. The Velkari found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to get smarter and more coordinated with each engagement, while their own tactical advantages meant nothing against human creativity. After 6 hours of fighting, the Velkari had advanced only 50 meters into the base. They controlled the main entrance and the first corridor, but every meter had cost them damaged equipment, depleted power supplies, and growing frustration. War Chief, Sub-Commander Kolthek reported, "We are encountering unexpected resistance." The news of Luna Base's fall reached Earth within hours, but humanity's response surprised the Velkari once again. Instead of the expected surrender, President Hae-Jin Lee appeared on every communication channel across the planet with a simple message. "They took our moon base. Now we take the war to them." Admiral Kyung-Soo Park stood in the expanded command center beneath Seoul, now connected to similar facilities worldwide. The walls displayed tactical information from every human military installation across the solar system. What he saw should have been terrifying, but instead it filled him with a strange sense of pride. "Operation Defiance is now active," he announced to the gathered officers. "Every available resource, every piece of equipment, every person who can contribute to our defense effort is now part of the war machine." Dr. Jae-hyun Ryu rushed into the command center carrying a tablet filled with data from Luna Base's final transmissions. Before the base fell, Commander Kang had managed to transmit detailed scans of Velkari technology, including their weapons, armor, and ship systems. "We have a breakthrough," Ryu announced breathlessly. "The Luna Base data shows us how their shields work. We can't penetrate them directly, but we can adapt their technology for our own use." General Tae-Hyun Yoon studied the technical readouts with interest. "How long do you need?" "Give me 2 weeks and every engineering team on the planet," Ryu replied. "We can't build their weapons, but we can build crude versions of their defensive systems." Captain Min-ho Kim looked up from his flight planning tablets. "What about our ships? Can we make them survivable against their weapons?" "We can try," Ryu said. "It won't be pretty, and it won't be as effective as theirs, but it might keep our pilots alive long enough to fight back." While Dr. Ryu worked on reverse engineering alien technology, the rest of humanity prepared for war in ways that confused and alarmed the Velkari observers. Instead of massing their military forces for a traditional defense, the humans began what appeared to be a planned evacuation of their population centers. War Chief Thekvar watched the orbital feeds in bewilderment. What are they doing? Their cities are emptying, but their military units are not retreating. Sub-Commander Kolthek enhanced the visual feeds. "Sir, they appear to be moving their civilians underground while maintaining surface defenses. They're also continuing industrial production in these underground facilities." In the tunnels beneath New York, factory worker Hyunwoo Jang helped install manufacturing equipment that had been moved from surface plants. The subway systems had been converted into massive underground factories, producing ammunition, spare parts, and weapons components 24 hours a day. "Keep the production lines moving," he told his team as they worked by emergency lighting. "Every bullet we make might save someone's life up there." Above ground, the Velkari began their traditional orbital bombardment, expecting mass panic and immediate surrender. Their energy weapons targeted major population centers, military bases, and government facilities. The destruction was massive and precise. But instead of the expected collapse of human morale, something unprecedented happened. The bombardment revealed that the humans had been preparing for exactly this scenario. Teacher Na-young Kim led a group of children through the underground tunnel system beneath Seoul, heading toward one of the deep shelters that had been prepared months in advance. Above them, the city burned under alien fire, but below ground, human civilization continued. "Are we going to win?" asked one of the children as they walked through the reinforced tunnels. "We're going to keep fighting," Na-young replied, "and that's the same thing." The underground facilities weren't just shelters. They were complete communities with schools, hospitals, factories, and command centers. The humans had learned from their own history of surviving bombardments and had prepared accordingly. Lieutenant Commander Seok-jin Cho commanded one of the first human ships to be equipped with Dr. Ryu's reverse-engineered shield technology. The device was crude and unreliable, but it had already saved his ship twice during skirmishes with Velkari patrols. "The key is not to fight them the way they expect," he explained to his crew as they prepared for another mission. "They expect us to line up our ships and trade fire until the stronger side wins. Instead, we hit them and run. We make them chase us into traps. We make every engagement cost them more than it costs us." His tactics worked because they violated every principle of Velkari military doctrine. The aliens had been trained to fight, honorable battles between fleets of comparable technology. They didn't know how to handle an enemy that refused to engage in fair fights. Pilot officer Ye-jin Bei demonstrated this principle during the Battle of the Asteroid Belt. When her damaged fighter encountered a Velkari cruiser escorting a supply convoy, military logic said she should retreat. Her ship was too damaged to fight, and her weapons couldn't penetrate the cruiser's shields. Instead, she calculated the trajectory needed to ram her fighter directly into the cruiser's shield generator. The explosion disabled the alien ship's defenses long enough for a hidden human destroyer to attack the convoy and escape with vital supplies. "Why did she do that?" asked Velkari Captain Morthek as he watched the tactical replay. "Her ship was not threatened. She could have fled safely." "The humans seem to view individual survival as less important than group objectives," observed his tactical officer. "This is outside all known behavioral patterns for intelligent species." The psychological impact of human tactics began affecting Velkari operations across the solar system. Their military doctrine assumed that all rational beings would prioritize their own survival. The idea that humans would deliberately sacrifice themselves to achieve tactical advantages was completely alien to them. Dr. So-young Choi studied captured Velkari prisoners and made discoveries that changed human strategy. The aliens, she learned, operated under strict hierarchical systems that made rapid adaptation difficult. They excelled at overwhelming force, but struggled with prolonged conflicts that required tactical flexibility. "They're like a very advanced computer program," she explained to the military leadership, "extremely effective at executing predetermined strategies, but not good at handling unexpected variables." Colonel Miran Kang used this intelligence to develop new tactics that exploited Velkari inflexibility. Instead of defending fixed positions, human forces began using mobile warfare that forced the aliens to constantly adapt their plans. The turning point in human thinking came when Captain Sun-ho Lee led the first successful deep space raid against a Velkari supply depot. Using ships equipped with Dr. Ryu's shield technology and Commander Cho's hit-and-run tactics, his squadron destroyed enough alien supplies to delay their operations for weeks. "We can't match their technology," Lee reported after the mission, "but we can disrupt their logistics. They're fighting at the end of a very long supply line, and every depot we destroy makes them weaker." General Yoon coordinated these raids into Operation Thunderstrike, a series of simultaneous attacks across multiple star systems. Human forces, now equipped with hybrid technology and unconventional tactics, began targeting Velkari supply lines, communication networks, and isolated outposts. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that had learned their weaknesses and was systematically exploiting them. Worse, the humans were sharing information and adapting their tactics in real time, becoming more effective with each engagement. War Chief Thekvar reviewed the operational reports with growing concern. His forces controlled Earth's orbit and had destroyed most major population centers, but human resistance was actually increasing. Every victory cost his fleet more resources than anticipated, and the humans showed no signs of surrendering. "They're learning from every battle," reported Fleet Commander Zerduk. "Their technology improves with each engagement. Their tactics become more sophisticated. It's as if defeat makes them stronger instead of weaker. The most disturbing reports came from Velkari medical officers treating their own troops. Soldiers who had fought humans were showing signs of psychological stress that the aliens had never encountered before. The humans fight with emotion, reported Chief Medical Officer Velkara. They become angry when their comrades fall, which makes them fight harder instead of retreating. Our soldiers are not prepared to face enemies who become more dangerous when they are losing. Intelligence Officer Bo-young Park intercepted Velkari communications that revealed the growing impact on alien morale. Commander Venkar's personal logs decoded by human cryptographers showed the psychological toll of fighting an enemy that refused to behave rationally. Day 47 of the Earth campaign, Venkar had recorded, lost another supply convoy to human raiders. They sacrificed 3 ships to destroy one of ours, which should be considered a Velkari victory. Yet somehow, it feels like we are the ones losing. The humans replace their losses within days while our reinforcements take weeks to arrive. The key discovery came when programmer Wu Jin-shin successfully penetrated Velkari communication networks. The aliens relied heavily on centralized command structures, which made them vulnerable to electronic warfare tactics. Their entire fleet operates like a single organism, Shin explained to the assembled military leaders, disrupt the central nervous system and the whole body. 6 months after the first alien ships appeared over Earth, War Chief Tekvar faced a situation that had never existed in 800 years of Velkari expansion, a species that refused to be conquered. What should have been a routine subjugation had become a grinding war of attrition that was draining resources from across the empire. The reinforcement fleet from the Velkari homeworld arrived to find the solar system transformed. Admiral Kyung-soo Park watched their approach from the command center of humanity's first space station, built with hybrid technology. The structure, constructed in just 4 months using both human engineering and reverse-engineered alien systems, represented everything the war had taught them. 60 ships in the reinforcement fleet, reported Intelligence Director Chang Ho Lim. That brings their total force to nearly 200 vessels. Dr. So-young Choi looked up from her analysis, reports. That's more ships than they used to conquer the last 3 star systems combined. They're taking us seriously now. The comment would have been encouraging if not for the sobering reality of humanity's losses. Earth's major cities lay in ruins. The population had dropped by nearly 1 billion people. Entire industrial centers had been reduced to radioactive craters. Yet somehow human resistance had grown stronger. Dr. Jae-hyun Ryu entered the command center carrying the latest production reports. The underground factories are operating at 150% capacity. We're producing more advanced equipment now than we were before the war started. General Tae-hyun Yoon studied the tactical displays showing human positions throughout the solar system. How are our people holding up? That's the remarkable thing, replied Dr. Choi. Morale is actually improving. Every victory, no matter how small, spreads through the population like wildfire. Every successful raid, every alien ship destroyed, every tactical innovation makes people believe more strongly that we can win. Captain Min-ho Kim, now commanding a squadron of hybrid fighters, understood why. We've learned something the aliens don't understand. When you're fighting for your home, every day you survive is a victory. The breakthrough that would change the war came from an unexpected source. Dr. Choi's study of captured Velkari prisoners had revealed fundamental weaknesses in their society that could be exploited militarily. Their entire civilization is built on rigid hierarchies, she explained to the assembled military leadership. Every decision flows down from central command. Every soldier follows predetermined protocols. They're incredibly efficient when everything goes according to plan. Colonel Miran Kang leaned forward with interest. And when things don't go according to plan? They struggle, Choi replied. Their strength becomes their weakness. They can't adapt quickly to unexpected situations because their entire command structure has to approve changes. This intelligence led to the development of Operation Chaos Theory, a new approach to warfare that would exploit Velkari inflexibility on a massive scale. General Yoon coordinated the operation from the underground command center beneath what had once been Seoul. The plan was ambitious: simultaneous attacks across multiple star systems, each designed not to achieve military objectives, but to force the Velkari command structure to make rapid decisions. Captain Sun-Ho Lee led the first phase, commanding deep space raiders equipped with the latest human technology. Their targets weren't military installations, but Velkari communication relays and supply depots spread across 12 different systems. Remember, Lee told his squadron leaders, we're not trying to destroy everything. We're trying to create chaos. Hit them fast, force them to respond, then disappear before they can coordinate a counterattack. The raids began simultaneously across 3 star systems. Human ships, now equipped with effective shields and improved weapons, struck at targets the Velkari had never thought to heavily defend. Communication stations, automated supply depots, and patrol bases found themselves under attack by an enemy that shouldn't have been able to operate so far from their home world. War Chief Tekvar's command center erupted in confusion as reports flooded in from across the fleet's operational area. 12 separate attacks in 6 hours, reported his tactical officer, all against different types of targets. I can't determine their strategic objective. Because there isn't one, replied Sub-Commander Kolthek grimly. They're attacking us everywhere at once to prevent us from concentrating our defenses anywhere. The psychological impact was immediate. Velkari commanders trained to follow central strategies found themselves unable to respond effectively to an enemy that seemed to attack randomly. Every time they reinforced one area, humans struck somewhere else. Intelligence Officer Bo Young Park monitored Velkari communications from her hidden facility in the asteroid belt. The intercepted messages revealed growing confusion and frustration among alien field commanders. Fleet Commander Zerdak is requesting permission to abandon outer system patrols, she reported. Captain Mortek wants authorization to pursue human raiders into neutral space. Sub-Commander Velkara is asking for new rules of engagement. And War Chief Tekvar? Asked General Yoon. He's trying to coordinate responses to dozens of separate requests simultaneously. His command structure is overloading. The second phase of Operation Chaos Theory exploited this confusion. Major Young Jae Nam led cyber warfare teams in attacks against Velkari command networks. Using techniques developed by programmer Woo Jin Shin, they didn't try to destroy alien systems, but to flood them with false information. Velkari ships began receiving contradictory orders, false tactical updates, and misleading intelligence reports. Their rigid command structure, dependent on accurate information flow, began making decisions based on data that was carefully crafted to increase confusion. Fleet units are responding to threats that don't exist, reported Shin from his mobile command post. We've got 3 Velkari battle groups chasing phantom human fleets while our real ships attack undefended targets. The psychological warfare component proved equally effective. Dr. Choi had discovered that Velkari military culture placed enormous emphasis on personal honor and battlefield success. Commanders who failed to achieve objectives faced disgrace within their society. Human propaganda broadcasts, transmitted on captured Velkari frequencies, began highlighting these failures. Messages describing incompetent alien commanders and failed military operations spread through the Velkari fleet, undermining morale and creating internal tensions. The turning point came during the Battle of Europa. Commander Jiho Kang, now leading humanity's most advanced task force, faced a Velkari battle group attempting to establish a forward base on Jupiter's moon. Instead of the conventional space battle the aliens expected, Kang used Europa's unique environment as a weapon. The moon's ice-covered surface and complex gravitational interactions with Jupiter created opportunities for tactics the Velkari had never encountered. Human ships, equipped with modified mining equipment, created artificial ice storms that confused Velkari sensors. They used Europa's geysers to mask their approach vectors and hid in the shadows of Jupiter's radiation belts where alien scanning systems were less effective. The battle became a 3-dimensional maze where human knowledge of physics and engineering proved more valuable than superior alien technology. Velkari ships designed for combat in open space found themselves outmaneuvered in an environment where their enemies had every advantage. "They're using the moon itself as a weapon," reported Velkari Captain Torvek as his ship struggled to track human fighters moving through ice clouds. "Our tactical computers cannot predict their movements because they're not following standard orbital mechanics." Kang's forces achieved something unprecedented, a decisive victory using inferior numbers and technology. The Velkari battle group retreated after losing half their ships to an enemy that had adapted their environment to serve as a force multiplier. The news of Europa spread through both fleets rapidly. For humans, it proved that alien technology could be defeated through superior tactics and environmental awareness. For the Velkari, it represented something more troubling, the first time in their military history that a technologically inferior enemy had achieved a clear strategic victory. War Chief Tekvar reviewed the battle reports with growing alarm. His forces had lost not because their weapons failed or their shields were penetrated, but because they had been outthought and outmaneuvered by an enemy that fought in ways their military doctrine couldn't anticipate. "The humans are not fighting a war," observed his strategic advisor studying the tactical data. "They are solving a problem. Every engagement teaches them something new about our capabilities and weaknesses. And what have we learned about them?" Tekvar asked. The strategic advisor was quiet for a long moment. "That they cannot be defeated using conventional methods. They adapt faster than we can modify our tactics. They turn every disadvantage into an advantage. They fight as if the concept of surrender does not exist in their minds." The realization that human resistance was actually strengthening led to the first serious discussions of retreat among Velkari commanders. Field reports showed that despite massive human casualties, their military effectiveness was improving daily. Captain Min-Ho Kim, flying the latest generation of hybrid fighters, represented this evolution. His ship now incorporated. 1 year after the first Velkari ships appeared over Earth, the solar system had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a fortress built by a species that refused to accept defeat. War Chief Tekvar stared at the tactical displays, showing the defensive network humanity had constructed, and felt something he had never experienced in 800 years of conquest. Fear. Admiral Kyung-Soo Park commanded the defense from humanity's newest space station, a massive structure built into the asteroid series using both human engineering and perfected alien technology. Around him, officers coordinated a defensive network that turned the entire solar system into an armed fortress. "Status report on all defensive positions," he ordered. "Luna base reconstruction is complete," reported Colonel Ji-Woo Han, who had survived the original battle and now commanded an installation 3 times larger than the original. "We have weapons platforms that can engage anything the Velkari have." Captain Min-Ho Kim checked in from the Outer System Patrol. "Fighter squadrons are at full strength. Our new ships are faster and more maneuverable than anything the Velkari can field." Dr. Jae-hyun Ryu's voice came from the engineering section. "All hybrid technology platforms are operating at maximum efficiency. We're producing equipment that surpasses original Velkari designs by significant margins." The defensive network represented more than military hardware. Every asteroid had been weaponized, every moon fortified, every space lane defended by automated systems that learned and adapted to enemy tactics. Humanity had turned their entire solar system into a weapon, but the most remarkable transformation was in the humans themselves. Dr. So-Young Choi's psychological studies showed that the war had fundamentally changed human society in ways that confused and alarmed the Velkari observers. "They're not the same species that we first encountered," she explained to President Hai-Jin Lee during a briefing in the deep command bunkers beneath New Seoul. "The war has accelerated human development in ways we never expected." "How so?" asked the president. "They've learned to think collectively while maintaining individual creativity. They coordinate like a hive mind but innovate like independent agents. It's a combination that our tactical computers can't predict or counter." Engineer Sung-Mi Kim exemplified this evolution. Working in the orbital shipyards around Mars, she had developed automated defense platforms that embodied human adaptability in artificial systems. The weapons learned from each engagement, modified their tactics in real time, and shared their knowledge across the entire network. "The platforms are thinking like humans now. she reported during a technical briefing. They make intuitive leaps, take calculated risks, and adapt to new situations faster than Velkari response times. The Velkari reinforcement fleet, when it finally arrived in full strength, encountered a solar system that bore no resemblance to the primitive world they had first attacked. Commander Velthak, leading the assault group, stared at his sensors in disbelief. "Sir, I'm reading weapon signatures that are more advanced than our own," reported his tactical officer. "These energy patterns, they're based on our technology, but they've been improved somehow." "That's impossible," Velthak replied. "These are primitives who barely achieved interplanetary flight." The first engagement proved him wrong. Human fighters, now equipped with technology that exceeded Velkari capabilities, met the alien assault fleet at the edge of the system. What followed was unlike any space battle in recorded history. Captain Sun Ho Lee led the opening attack in his hybrid fighter, a ship that combined human innovation with perfected alien technology. His squadron moved through the enemy formation like predators, using tactics that Velkari computers couldn't predict or counter. "They're not fighting like any species we've encountered," reported Velkari pilot Morketh, as he watched human fighters coordinate attacks that seemed to violate tactical logic. "They're taking risks that should be suicidal, but somehow they're succeeding. The human advantage lay in their willingness to sacrifice individual units for strategic objectives, combined with technology that allowed them to achieve those objectives effectively." When Lieutenant Hyewan Choi's fighter was damaged, beyond repair, she didn't retreat or eject. Instead, she used her ship as a guided missile, taking out a Velkari command cruiser and disrupting their entire formation. War Chief Thekvar watched the battle unfold with growing horror. His technologically superior fleet was being systematically dismantled by an enemy that treated warfare as a creative art rather than a mechanical process. "They're using our own tactical principles against us," observed Sub-Commander Koltek, "but they're applying them in ways we never considered." The decisive moment came when the Velkari attempted to break through Earth's orbital defenses using their traditional overwhelming force strategy. They encountered Dr. Ryu's latest innovation, adaptive defensive networks that embodied everything humanity had learned about war. The defense platforms didn't just respond to Velkari tactics, they anticipated them. Using artificial intelligence, based on human thought patterns, the weapons predicted alien movements and prepared countermeasures before the attacks began. "Sir, their defensive systems are acting like they know what we're going to do before we do it," reported Velkari Fleet Commander Zerdak, his voice showing the first hints of panic. War Chief Thekvar realized what was happening. "They've studied us for a year. They understand our tactics better than we understand theirs. The battle for Earth's orbital space lasted 18 hours and ended with something unprecedented in Velkari military history. Retreat. Not a tactical withdrawal to regroup, but a full retreat by forces that could no longer continue fighting." The psychological impact on the Velkari fleet was devastating. They had encountered an enemy that not only refused to be conquered, but had become more powerful through the process of being conquered. Commander Jiho Kang, now leading the human pursuit forces, understood the strategic implications. "They're not just retreating from this battle," he reported to Admiral Park. "They're retreating from the concept of conquering humanity." The evidence was in the intercepted Velkari communications. War Chief Tekvar's orders to his fleet commanders spoke of strategic reassessment and resource reallocation. The proud warrior race that had never retreated from an inferior enemy was preparing to abandon their conquest. But humanity's response surprised them once again. President Hyejin Lee's address to the Velkari fleet was broadcast on all frequencies, ensuring that every alien ship received the message. Her words were simple and direct. "War Chief Thekvar, this is President Lee of Earth. We have demonstrated that your conquest will fail. We have proven that we cannot be defeated through force. Now we offer you something better than victory: peace." The proposal that followed shocked the Velkari command staff. Instead of demanding unconditional surrender, the humans offered a negotiated settlement that would end the war while allowing both sides to benefit. "We propose the Terran Accords," Lee continued. "An agreement that recognizes human independence, while establishing cooperative relationships between our species. We offer to share our defensive technologies in exchange for an end to Velkari expansion and the liberation of previously conquered worlds. Dr. So Young Choi had crafted the proposal, based on her understanding of Velkari psychology. They respect strength, she had explained to the human leadership, but they also respect practical solutions to impossible problems. We're offering them a way to end this war without losing face. The concept was revolutionary. In 800 years of expansion, the Velkari had never encountered a species that offered alliance after defeating them militarily. The idea that an enemy would share advanced technology instead of demanding tribute was completely outside their experience. War Chief, Tekvar found himself facing a decision that redefined everything he understood about warfare and conquest. The humans had not only proven impossible to defeat, they had offered him something no Velkari commander had ever received: victory through cooperation instead of domination. The final irony was that humanity's greatest weapon had been their willingness to fight for principles beyond mere survival. Dr. Choi's analysis had been correct. The humans fought not just to preserve their lives, but to protect their way of life and help others achieve the same freedom. They fight for concepts, Tekvar admitted to his senior staff as they reviewed the human proposal. For ideas that we don't fully understand. Freedom, independence, the right to choose their own path. These are weapons we have no defense against. The signing of the Terran Accords took place on a neutral space station constructed jointly by human and Velkari engineers. The ceremony was broadcast throughout the galaxy, showing something that had never been seen before: a Velkari war chief signing a peace treaty with a species they had failed to conquer. General Taehyun Yoon attended the ceremony as part of the human delegation. When asked by galactic reporters whether humanity had won through superior technology or tactics, his response became legendary throughout known space. "We won because we never accepted that losing was an option," he said simply. Sometimes that's enough. The long-term consequences of the Terran Accords transformed galactic civilization. The Velkari Empire, confronted with proof that conquest was not always possible, began reconsider